It all down, and there's a lot to break down, Susan.
Absolutely, Charles. That's right. So American prosperity is on the ballot next week in the election. And one barometer of that success comes from the world's biggest company, Apple, which has been the poster child for U.S. innovation and prosperity. Now, I just got off the phone with Apple CEO Tim Cook, and he told me that what he saw was they had solid growth in the U.S. So he says he could only tell me what they saw, which is solid growth in the quarter in terms of AI. Now, we know that there's been an AI boom, which means that billions, if not trillions, have been pouring in to chase this next evolution. But there's been criticism that Apple has been behind the curve when it comes to AI. Now, Apple just launched their first AI features in their software update this week. And Cook tells me that users are adopting the new software, the iOS 18.1, which is the first time that they've had the initial features of Apple Intelligence. And they're adopting it at twice the rate that they adopted the 17.1 update in the year ago period. So that's only 3 days of data, but he says it's a good indication of interest. Now, there have been reports that maybe Apple's latest iPhone, the iPhone 16, might not be selling as well as last year's 15 because of this slow rollout of AI. To that, Cook says the 16 family of phones outgrew the 15 family of the year ago quarter. Now, of course, I had to ask about politics and the election, especially as you heard Donald Trump say in a podcast recently that Tim Cook had called him about the EU charges of over $16 billion in this double taxation. Apple did take a $10 billion charge in this quarter, but when I asked him about that phone call, he said no comment, basically, didn't confirm that it took place. I also asked if Apple's modeling possibly for higher tariffs in a Trump administration or higher corporate taxes in a Harris administration. And to that, they said no comment at this point. We'll see how it plays out on Tuesday.
Before I let you go, when Trump was in office and we started the tariff battles with China, a lot of folks said, look to Apple, right? Whether they'll lose market share within China as just, the sort of retaliatory actions. And they weathered that pretty well. What do you sense right now?
Well, if you look at the results right now, as you mentioned, we're down 1% in the after hours in reaction to what I think was a pretty good quarter for them, since they sold more of their devices and they made more profit. But the problem is China with the ongoing slowdown there. But one point of benefit from the Trump administration, India, which they say has hit a record in terms of sales, because don't forget that the Trump administration opened up the Indian retail market for the very first time under Trump for Apple and Tim Cook there.
Also, they're doing more manufacturing out of India as well, aren't they?
That's right. So they're shifting a lot more production over in India, and that is as a hedge, of course, to what we saw in the COVID shutdowns in China. So maybe not putting too many of their eggs in one basket in China, and especially in this, this uncertainty over the South China Sea and over Taiwan. I think it's a pretty smart corporate play right now for companies as big as Apple to diversify their supply chain.
Imagine being that big and that nimble. Susan Lee, great reporting as always. Thank you very much.